I'm Sir Tap Tap and welcome to Let's Play Submerged. A review copy of this game was provided by Uppercut Games, the developer. So this is a very exploration-focused game. It's sort of like... imagine Wind Waker, except mostly just about... hello, Parker. About, you know, going from island to island and finding new crap. None of the combat. There's no combat in this game. Everything much more condensed than Wind Waker, of course. Wind Waker is kind of a disaster with the... you know, it's kind of amazing how much Wind Waker is better just by the Swift Sail in the HD version. But, like, changing the wind in that game was just an incredibly terrible idea. Anyway, back to this game. So, this game is, you know, takes place in this sunken city. Parker, please sit down. It's not really very story focused. It's more all about exploring, and there's like two methods of exploring. Like the main progression shows you the story of these two characters here. I forget their names, honestly. It's this young woman and her little brother. And by secondary exploring, you find out what happened to the city and why stuff is the way it is. Everything keeps fairly vague, honestly, and it's a good thing, that's a bad thing. The one thing I will say, the story itself, I enjoy how the story is told, but the actual ending, it's, you know, standard, nothing really happens, open-ended ending. But what's really interesting here is the exploration. I had a little pop in there. So this game looks very good considering... this game is slightly under 2 gigabytes on PlayStation 4, which is pretty impressive considering all we can see here. You know, that's like half the size of a lot of PS2 games. Performance isn't perfect on PS4. I haven't tried it on PC. I upgraded to Windows 10 and I'm kind of scared to mess with too much PC stuff right now. The performance doesn't really get in the way on PS4. There's some frame drops, and the camera's a little weird. I'll show you as soon as I get actual camera controls. So when the story progresses, we get 4 panels. Like, it's sort of like, not quite a comic, but, you know, it's telling the story of these two characters and why they are the way they are. And, it's interesting that it's told, you know, without words. I'm a big sucker for stories told without words, but it limits you to something sort of simple, and that's fine. Really, what's interesting about this game is we get a boat, hence the, you know, Wind Waker comment earlier, and we basically go around the city. Don't get too scared by all the cinematic stuff going on right now. Everything is very open-ended, and we can pretty much do whatever the crap we want as soon as we end this beginning thing. Whale! Okay, so one of the things in this game is there are these random animals that, you know, go around here. They can't hurt you or anything. So this is obviously a whale, and you might notice he's got some really gross crap growing on him. We'll see some more of what's going on with that later. So... I'm not really sure how I can flow through some of these bits, but pretty much my favorite part of this game is seeing the new animals, and that's my favorite part of exploration, and you can just sort of go along with them. They stick around for a while. There's 2! Oh, he's gonna turn away. I wanted to see them bump into each other, but I guess they're not gonna. So, there's only 8 different kinds of animals. I think we just saw some flying fish there that I wasn't paying attention to. So there's a few kinds of whales, dolphins, some other stuff. All the animals look really, really cool. The birds are kind of boring, but, you know, they're birds, whatever. So the main way the story works in this game, if you want to call it that, is you find these buildings, like larger buildings will have these red chests that we're going to find. That's what that waypoint marker is there. And so you need to find whatever crap is in that chest and bring it back to your brother to help fix him up. And, you know, that's the whole driving point of the story. Very simple and really just an excuse to explore the really cool city, which is, you know, the relevant part of the game frankly. The game sort of does those forced camera angles every once in a while to show you some pretty stuff. So the game does a good job of highlighting, there's sort of this Uncharted light platforming going on here. It's very strict in that you can't, you know, jump off and hurt yourself. There's no taking damage in this game. So you're sort of not entirely on rails, but you know, I can't fall over here. It's not really about, like, the difficulty isn't finding things. It's not in, you know, traversing. Traversing's fairly easy. The game does a good job of showing where you can climb with these, like, flowers and stuff. And you shouldn't end up too lost as long as you're paying attention. There are a few of these optional secrets I found that are pretty painful, and or I guess I should explain those. So there's these optional secrets, and every time you find, like, a main... How do I get back up there? Oh, there we go. Every time we find a big building, there'll be at least 2 and up to about 5 or 4 optional secrets somewhere along that building, and, you know, optional side paths like we just found here. Some of them would be very obvious, some are a bit better hidden. And you don't have to get them, but in my opinion, that's the story of the city is a lot more interesting than, you know, the main story that's going on. So you'll want to keep an eye out for those. I really do recommend that you do your best to be a completionist on your first way through. Though there is one big caveat to that. So, like, my excitement level was at like a 9 going through the first like 90% of collecting everything, and then it really plummets once you get down to the last couple items, because the game doesn't really have an easy failsafe to find those last very few items. So going for 100% without a guide is very enjoyable up until the very last few items, and then it's just a painful slog, which is unfortunate. There will probably be a guide very soon after launch that sort of corrects that. I actually am going to try to make part of one myself, but I don't have those last few items, so I probably won't have that entirely out in time for launch. Yeah, the way the story works is we find stuff for our little brother here, we patch him up, and then, you know, time passes, we get a little bit of a story. And it doesn't deviate too much from that. I will complete one more red box just to show us, you know, sort of a little twist here. After this point, we can pretty much do anything we want. We're forced to go to that one. Well, actually, I'm not entirely sure. But the game basically is like, hey, go and find that specific red chest. But now, the game's like, oh hey, find some more of these crates. And then we get the spyglass that lets us identify items. Its range is not, you know, perfect or anything, and it can't go through walls or anything. So, certain items are really difficult to find with this. The red chests are all very, very easy to find. Like, they're usually on very big, conspicuous buildings, and very easy to identify from a long distance away with spyglass. Other items, like there's a optional item here where those red flowers are, but we can't actually see it because, you know, it's obscured. One other important mechanic here. Once we salvage the first boat, we get this little boost here. It's not urgent or anything. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for the boats, but it's not super important that you get all of them or anything. It's just a little speed boost. So the game, again, very pretty. Mostly due to the lighting, the water, and the general setting. The lighting, very good. It's an Unreal Engine 4 game, and it really shows. I've taken quite a lot of screenshots of this game. One other feature this game has, you see this big statue thing here. The game has landmarks, so once we get close enough to certain landmarks... Whale! Hey, whale. Come on. Once we get close enough to a landmark, it gives us a nice, pretty cinematic camera angle here, and gives it a name as the whale floats around the background there. So yeah, there's 8 landmarks to go see. Not sure if this is a different whale. Different type of whale, rather. There's 3 different whales. One of them is a whale shark. I think this is a new one. Yeah, this is the huge one. Hey, buddy. So there's a smaller whale, there's this giant one, and then there's the whale sharks. Hey, buddy. The whales are the coolest. Like, one of my favorite parts of this game is just hanging out with the giant, overgrown monstrosities here. But let's, Ah. Oh, come on. You're supposed to be standing still, I guess, when you're trying to find stuff. It seems kind of unnecessary that it makes you wait. Alright. Ooh! Dolphins? Dolphins! So dolphins would try to swim along with your boat, which is pretty cool. As you notice, they all have that bioluminescent, moldy green crap all over them. That's, you know, story related, and you'll get a kind of explanation of what's going on as you unlock these secret things. And see, I really enjoyed going through and finding these secret things, but the game seems to lack something that Infamous does to prevent you from getting too frustrated, is that eventually you get this ability, like you have this radar ability in Infamous, and it'll identify, you know, your stupid little collectibles. And once you have it upgraded to a certain point, even if the stupid little collectibles are outside of your range, it gives you a general gist of where to go. Speaking of where to go, you can disable the heads-up display. It's entirely unnecessary. And we can open this map at any time anyway. So I kind of recommend turning off the heads-up display. The one annoying thing is that the little messages of what you're actually going to collect, like in this point, I think we're going to find a fire to keep our brother warm. It doesn't display those, and you also can't see how much charge you have for your boat, but it doesn't really matter. The, oh dang. Major slowdown there. Like I said, the game does have some frame drops, some minor slowdown for loading here, but the game only has minor loading between like story events, and otherwise, you know, completely free roam without loading unless you do story events, so it's pretty good. I also like, you can sort of see this when you disrupt water at night, it has all this bioluminescent crap. It's very, very pretty game. So, alright, here. So this is another one of our buildings. I think there's either 8 or 10 of these big buildings. Whale shark! Where is it? Ah, there it is. Boat, calm down. So the animals can knock around your boat a bit. They can't hurt you or anything. Oh, manta ray. We're fighting all the animals at once here. Hey, buddy. Bump. The whale sharks aren't too exciting. They're cool and they're big. So let's get up here. And the time of day is dynamic. If you just explore for a while, it'll eventually go from day to night and so on. And it can also rain on occasion, and you get some nice thunder and rain effects going on. Overall, the game looks very good, especially considering its 2 GB limit, or not limit, but you know, size. Obviously some fairly heavy asset reuse, but I can't really complain too much about that. You know, it's an indie game. It's does a lot with, you know, somewhat few assets, and there's a decent amount of variety and, you know, buildings and stuff to see. So one of the gimmicks is you can't climb up on these totally destroyed thingies, but you can, you know, climb along the bottom of them. So that'll limit your ability to climb on certain things. Where are we going here? Oh, duh. So yeah, we'll just get a second thing for our brother, and we'll see a little extra bit of what's going on here. Look at that moon. Look at it. It's very nice. I think I mentioned before, but I've taken a lot of screenshots of this game. It's very, very pretty. One thing I couldn't find out is what price this game is going to be. I'm playing it before... but yeah, sometimes it'll give you hints to where the little things are. Sometimes it won't. But what was I talking about? I couldn't find the price information for this game. Not 100% sure what it's going to be. I don't tend to be too picky on price, so, you know, I'm not going to say you should buy this at this price, you shouldn't buy this at another price, but I think 10 or 15 would be a good price for this. My biggest problem, well, it's sort of an inherent problem. I don't think this was something they could have designed around. But there's not really any replayability in the game because, you know, once you've explored everything, found everything, there's not really much reason to replay the game, you know. There's no intense combat mechanics to go and replay and stuff. But it's a very enjoyable first playthrough. Story, not super amazing, I think I mentioned that, but the exploration is what feels really great, and just exploring and seeing the sights. And that's kind of why, you know, on a second playthrough, you've already seen everything, so it sort of loses the magic, but for the first playthrough, just feels really great. Oh, right. You can also, it has this photo mode, it says make postcard, and it sort of forces this crappy vignette and the game's title on there. But you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. You know, get your share button over there. I usually just take, you know, plain shots without the heads-up display and just using the share button. But oh, and the animals, you know, you don't have to be in the water for them to spawn, so they'll just ambiently spawn and be around there, and so it can be really cool. If I had to request, like, if I could add one thing to this game, it would be just a lot more animals. Like, they're my favorite thing to go and see. Just like just watching as they go around. I guess there are not any out there right now. Just watching them explore the city is really cool. Like, they're going around exploring stuff just like me. So I guess this was all optional. I guess let's take a look at our... Oh, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but when you peek at stuff with the spyglass, it'll mark it on your map. So like we just saw a boat, so that'll be... Yeah, that's on our map. And that works very well for the first like 90% of collectibles, like I said, but just the last few, pain in the butt, and you basically need a guide for them, so that's a shame. I think we actually need to go back all the way up here. Can we get up there? I think we're supposed to go up that thing over to the right. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, right. Let me show you. So in your backpack here, you can see all the different creatures. There's only 8 creatures, 8 landmarks. The city story is what you unlock with those secrets. So yeah, we see... doesn't really make any sense quite yet. But it never gets into super duper specific details, but it's pretty interesting to unlock. It's pretty much my favorite part of the gameplay, is trying to figure out what happened to the city. So, yeah, and once you find the red chest, you get teleported back, and so you might want to take a quick look around to make sure you didn't miss any of those red thingies. And once you're on the top of a big building, you'll want to, you know, take the opportunity to use your spyglass here to mark some crap on the map. And you really should find the great majority of things without a guide. It's just the very last few percent that are pain in the butt. Yeah. You might notice there's a little bit of that bioluminescent mossy crap on our hands. Isn't that interesting? This is also one of those games that makes your PS4 very loud. And what is that? Isn't that interesting? So yeah, as you explore and stuff, you'll see things, you know, I guess you could probably tell from the fact the city's completely destroyed, but things don't seem to have happened, like, ended very well for the people in this city. So yeah. So there's some mystery in that, too, and... Yeah, we see the backstory of these two through these. Takes a while to figure out too much of it, but as we can see here, I'll show you real quick as soon as this stops. The progression never gets too much beyond, you know, go find the next red chest, and then once you found all the red chests, you can go back and just explore at your own leisure. It doesn't force a new game on you. You can make a new game anytime you want. Let's take a look at the story here. So, basically, happy family, happy family. Dad goes out, gets fish. Mom goes out, bloop, dead. And then, obviously a bunch of horrible things happen, and then it ends up to here. Yeah, this is Submerged. It is very pretty, and lots of nice exploring in our little boat here. And yeah. What do you think, Parker? He's asleep.